Good afternoon, team. I'm Colonel John Lloyd, the USACE Chief of Staff. Welcome to the USACE Virtual Town Hall for our world-class workforce. This is an opportunity to hear from Lieutenant General Semonite, look toward the future for what is next, and say goodbye one last time. I'd also like to introduce senior leaders that are new to USACE. Today, we encourage all team members to participate and ask questions. We have received questions through the email inbox and have taken the top trending topics, and we are currently monitoring questions on YouTube Live. Joining General Semonite today is his wife, Connie, the Deputy Chief of Engineers and Deputy Commanding General, Major General David Hill, the 14th Command Sergeant Major Patrickson Toussaint, Deputy Commanding General for Military and International Operations, Major General Jeff Milhorn, the Deputy Commanding General for Civil and Emergency Operations, Major General William Butch Graham, the Corps Chaplain, Chaplain Brad Bowman, the Director of Human Resources, Ms. Karen Payne, the Director of Resource Management, Mr. Tom Steffens, the Command Surgeon, Commander Tom Janesco, and the G3, Colonel Jason Putnam. I'd like to, at this time, ask our chaplain, Chaplain Brad Bowman, to open with some words of encouragement and an invocation.
I invite all of you to join me in a word of prayer. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we pause to invoke your blessing on this important town hall meeting here today. And we ask that you would provide us with your wisdom in all that we do. Now, as we discuss the important accomplishments and the continued challenges we face within our Corps, we ask that you would please guide our discussion and give us both clarity of thought and understanding. We truly do thank you for our Corps team. Creativity, contributions, tenacity, hard work. We would be an empty structure. Finally, please continue to bless and protect each one of us in all that we do. And as we enter into this busy week of transition, provide us with your continued strength and grace. For it is in your name we ask these things. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. I appreciate those words. At this time, I'd like to welcome USACE's 14th Command Sergeant Major Toussaint.
Good afternoon, team. So just want to say it's a pleasure and privilege to be up here and to address you as the 14th USACE CSM. But more importantly, I just want to welcome everybody back from a long weekend. Hope you had a safe, enjoyable one, Labor Day that was, and that you had some fun and relaxation with your families. A little bit about myself real quickly. Grew up in the West Indies, a small island, Dominica. Migrated to the US in 92, joined the Army in 93. An engineer my entire career for the last 27 years. Joined the USACE team 2 years ago with the Pacific Ocean Division. I'll tell you, it was a life-changing experience for me. Just working with all the civilians, professionals, it was just amazing. And coming up here to the headquarters and to serve you as the 14th USACE CSM, I look forward to the engagements, to the opportunities, to meet you in person when we can actually do that in the future, and just to share with you what we are about as a headquarters team, to taking care of the workforce and making sure that we operationalize the people's first mentality in this organization. Because as the chaplain just said, without you as the workforce, nothing happens in USACE. And it's phenomenal. I've been here for about 45 going in 60 days, and it's been, it's been fast. It's a lot going on, a lot of new leaders. But I tell you, each and every one of us is passionate about the Corps, its mission, our people, and to make sure that we develop you and take the time out to show our appreciation for what you do day in and day out. And Chief, just want to say thank you for this opportunity to just put this together. And COVID gets a vote, but with this technology that we have these days, is no reason why we cannot reach out to the team. And this is a phenomenal way to do that. So as the Chief of Staff said, As you have questions throughout the session, please go ahead and put those up. I want to encourage you to do that and ask, and we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. But it's an honor to be here. I will tell you, my philosophy is people. It's just that simple. Taking care of people is the most important thing for me. Been in the Army for 27 years, 24 of those 27 years I've been in leadership positions. So I've been doing this for a little bit of time, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So every opportunity that I have to reach out to the workforce, whether it's a soldier or a civilian, I see myself as your CSM, whether it's the chief or that person working down at the lock and dam somewhere in the U.S., I'm your USACE CSM. And that's the way I see it. I don't discriminate amongst anybody to say, hey, I'm your CSM or the other guys. I'm here to serve every individual. And I'm honored to do that. Only a small percentage of folks get into the rank of CSM. And even a much smaller percentage get to be the chief of engineers CSM. And chief, again, just in front of 36,000 people, I just want to say thank you again for this opportunity. Tanya and I are honored to continue to serve. We've been passionate about this for decades. As you know, Tanya is retired as well. But we just got done setting up the house, and I'm ready to go. This is a tremendous opportunity for us. And there's a lot of stuff going on in our world today, in our country today. We've got COVID, we've got this unrest, and we just want folks to stay focused. And I ask each individual to do your part, whether it's wearing a mask, whether it's as you're out on the weekends, socializing with folks, and you're maintaining your distancing. Just remember the tenets. We're all here to look out for each other. That's what it's about. Safety is number one. People are always the priority, but safety is number one. And if we keep that in the forefront of our minds and we take care of folks, we'll be okay. I look forward to the discussions. I yield my time, Chief, to you because this is your final town hall. And I just want to say again, thank you and wish you and your wife, Connie, the best in retirement. I know we'll get to say that again in a couple of days here or tomorrow, in fact, but 36,000 people and the regiment, 90,000. Thank you for everything that you've done for us, Chief. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Sergeant.
And I'll be followed by the DCG General
Let's get started.
Hill.
With your hand. All right.
Well, good afternoon, USACE. It's a pleasure to be with you today, Chief. Thanks for the opportunity to come back to the Corps and to lead at this level here now. And I've been in the Army for 30 years. I've had the fortunate opportunity to be involved with USACE as the director of the Office of Chief Engineers, and then having commanded two of our divisions, Southwestern Division and the Transatlantic Division. I can tell you, after spending 2 years away, being well served by this agency as a supported command with Third Army, I was even more excited to come back and contribute to the effort of our team. And my wife, Chris, and I both share in that excitement. In 45 days, the highlight so far has been meeting a lot of the exceptional teammates in the Army Corps of Engineers that I did not have an opportunity to work with personally in the past. And then also just to rekindle friendships and relationships with many that I've had the opportunity to serve with across the Corps. And that was equally exciting. Look, deputies are foundation guys, at least this particular deputy. So I'm excited to advance the commander's priorities. And really, I think that's kind of in three big bins, working hand in hand with the Command Sergeant Major. It's to do our best to make sure that we're governed effectively, to operationalize the people first philosophy of our Chief of Staff of the Army, make sure we're well aligned with the Army People Strategy, and to support that effort writ large, working hand in hand with Karen Payne and our talented human resources community of practice, as well as commanders in the field. And then to make sure that we're effective in our use of resources and applying those limited resources against really unlimited opportunities, which is evident here based off the great work of each one of you over the last several years. And then finally, to do my part to help in our strengthening of partnerships. And I think my personal focus initially has been with our service headquarters, Department of the Army. As many of you engage with our partners in programmatic delivery out in the field, it's important for us to stay well nested with our service headquarters back here. So I'm excited to get after those initial objectives here and to support both you, sir, and look forward to transitions and new opportunities to come. But thanks again, sir, for bringing us back. And I'll be followed by Major General Jeff Milhorn, the Deputy Commanding General for Military and International Operations.
Glad to have you here, Dave. Well done.
Thank you.
So to number 54, Chief, it's an honor to come back and serve, really to having left North Atlantic Division and commanded Pacific Ocean Division previously. but to come out and now at this level serve with and for all of the people across the enterprise. Again, sir, thanks for bringing me back as part of the team. Happy to join both Dave and Butch moving forward, but most importantly today to say thank you for your extraordinary leadership over the last 4 years plus. And so you got to get that plus in there. But to you and Connie, for all that you've done across the enterprise for the Corps and the partnerships that we all tremendously benefit from today. As Dave made mention, even in the mill programs, international operations, I'm joining an extraordinarily strong team of professionals and could not be more proud of them and all that they do for the enterprise. And similarly, along the same lines, nested in terms of taking care of people, delivering our programs, strengthening partnerships, and renewing some that may not exist. I'll take those endeavors on. And most importantly, to communicate broadly and widely so those that don't understand our business have a better understanding of what we do and how they can apply the tools of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers across the Department of Defense and across all the agencies that we work with. Sir, again, it's a true honor to have served with you over these last 2 years. And again, I wish not only yourself and Connie the very best with your upcoming transitions and your retirement, spending more time with the family, but also welcoming our 55th Chief of Engineers here in the next 2 days as we bring on the Spellmans. And so again, it's been an honor to serve. And with that, sir, I'll turn it over to Major General Butch Graham, our Deputy Commanding General for Civil and Emergency Operations.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Well done.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Sir, it's great to be back with the Corps. I missed it. To both you and Connie, thanks so very, very much for all that both of you have done. I know we're going to hear a lot of that over the next day or so, but you both poured your hearts and soul into this organization, and we're the better for it. So thank you. So no stranger to the Corps. For those of you who don't know me, I started off, the Corps sent me to grad school. And then I had the great opportunity to go to the Pittsburgh district, which is my hometown. Pittsburgh district. Woo! All right, there we go. As the deputies, here's the deputies. There we go. All right. It's a tough crowd. Then I was able to, some fluke of nature, come back and command the Pittsburgh district, which was truly a blessing, and greatly enjoyed the time there. Again, coming back to my hometown. And I was able to spend some time overseas, now working with GRD and TAD. So there's a soft spot in my heart, like many of you, for the great work that our contingency divisions and contingency districts do overseas. And I was able to come back as the Chief of Staff here. Woo! All right, it's getting weaker. It's getting weaker. And I had the great fortune to go up to NAD and serve as a division commander up there. So like Dave Hill, I've been gone for the last 2 years back in another part of the Army where I got to admire what you all have truly accomplished, both with this huge program you're delivering for the nation, as well as the magnificent work fighting COVID, which has just been amazing to see. And we are applauding you from the sideline. So it's great to be here. And I was asked, what's my strategic vision with Mr. Ali for Civil Works? And it's really to enable the strength of the Corps of Engineers, which is our districts, to do what we do our absolute best to enable the districts working through the MSCs to deliver. And so that's where I see us heading. And sir, again, thank you for letting me come back onto this magnificent team. I'll turn it back over to an old Pittsburgh District Commander, our current Chief of Staff.
Cool. Thanks, sir. Hey, so it gives me my great honor and privilege to introduce at this time the 54th Chief of Engineers, General Semonite.
Well, listen, guys, thanks for all being here. And to the entire Corps family, I mean, it's an exciting time for Connie and I. What I want to do in probably about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes, is kind of three big things. First of all, want to kind of look back at the last 4 years and tell you a little bit about maybe some of the big accomplishments we've had. Maybe you have a chance to kind of look out to the future and just to kind of say, well, how do I see the world coming in the next couple of years ahead? And then at the end, I certainly want to thank the team. Before I get into the pitch, and I talk fast, and you know I talk fast, and I've got some slides, and I only do this so if you don't have a chance to see this live and you go back later, you're able to dive back in. This deck of slides is kind of representative of what we as the Corps of Engineers really have done over the last 4 years and 4 months. Before I go into it, though, three things starting out. I want to thank everybody for setting this up. It takes a lot of time. If you don't know, we've come a long way. COVID helped us on trying to figure out how to talk better to you, how to be able to do Zoom and Teams and WebEx and everything else. So we've continued to never stop. And some people have said that organizations have stopped during COVID and now they're trying to come back. Just think about teachers in schools and other kind of things. The Corps never did stop. We continue to be able to work, maybe in a little bit different, and we're going to talk about that toward the end. But the bottom line is this operation today was a big deal. I want to thank the chief, the IT team's done a phenomenal job setting it up. Everybody's gone out of their way. And it's just a chance for us to try to communicate with you. And I think that's what is the most important when things are going tough, is that you want to hear from leadership. You want to hear everything is going to be okay. And COVID is going to continue to get a vote. We aren't sure where it's going to go, but just the opportunity for us to look you in the eye today and to kind of let you know that we think things are okay and we're all in on how to be able to continue to combat this. The second thing is that I'm real proud of this new team. I just walked Connie in and walked around the table, and we don't have a video to show you all of it, but we really have done a massive transition over the last 3 or 4 months. I want you to personally know that I was told that General Spellman was going to be the next chief somewhere December or January. And so in the back rooms, I've been talking to him pretty much for the last 5 or 6 months. And as you think sometimes the transition's only a couple of weeks, that's not the case. Things that we were doing with testimony in March and April, job decisions, people decisions, all that kind of stuff. And I tell you what, I am so proud of our senior leaders. We have 46 of the best SCSs out there. I will put our GS-15s against anybody in the federal government and all the great people that continue to work throughout the Corps, all the way down to those with the muddiest boots in the Corps working every single day. But when it comes to the general officers, we've got about 23 engineer generals. 14 of them are here in the Corps of Engineers, and they're the best generals I've ever seen. I've been around a lot of boards. I've seen a lot of people. And there could have been 5 or 6 people that are going to be the chief of engineers. They're all that kind of quality. So when you're a 2-star working on the 3rd floor, you're a pretty high-speed person. But without a doubt, Army leadership picked the best one to be the new chief of engineers. And Scott Spellman and Charisse are going to do a phenomenal job coming in here. Scott's got all the background to run the regiment. He's been a colonel commander in combat and knows how to deal with troops. Charisse has been right there when units have deployed. Scott was a division commander for us. Scott was the head of Civil Works 3 years, knows Congress, knows how to build relationships, knows how to partner, just a phenomenal leader. And Scott, you just need to know that we will continue to, Connie and I will be with you and Charisse anytime you need us, but we're going to be out of your way, okay, as much as we can. And just, we introduced the 3 DCGs. These guys were handpicked, okay? We looked at what they've got for leadership. We put them in the right jobs. Command Sergeant Major Toussaint and I were together 15 years ago. I've known him for a long, long time. He is coming again from a division, so he knows a little bit about USACE. And I think we've done a great job in talent management, not just with SCSs and our civilian leaders, but continuing to be able to shape military lieutenant colonels, command sergeant majors, and general officers to be able to go in and do this. So in the last 3 or 4 months, all 3 DCGs have changed: a sergeant major, 7 division commanders, 16 district commanders, and several colonels. So you got new people in the seat, but I'm excited about it because those transitions are done. And we had a big meeting about 3 weeks ago to be able to kind of set the conditions for the next couple of months ahead. And then the last thing is, and I'm going to say more about this person tomorrow night and Thursday, we have 3 kind of events. Connie and I fought hard not to have like 4 months of farewells. That just gets old for you and it gets old for us. So this is probably the first one, but it really goes back to this is the time that I want to talk to you as USACE. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a very, very small function just of some of the senior leaders, and I'll talk to senior leaders, but that's not going to be broadcast, and you're not going to know what I'm thinking about you. And then Thursday, believe it or not, COVID got a vote. I think I've got 25 people that are my personal family coming, so don't feel bad you weren't invited. It's a very, very small function. General McConnell's going to run it. General Spellman's got 25. I've got 25, and we've got a bunch of senior leaders from the Army that are going to come. And there, I hate to say it, I got 5 minutes to talk, and most of it's going to be about big Army and saying things that I probably need to say. And so I want to just be able to look you in the eye and tell all of you about USACE and our USACE employees. So this is the time that I really want to stress on you how proud I have been of what you have accomplished in the last 4 years and 4 months. And at the very, very end, I think my last slide is a challenge to say we can't slow down now. So let's get into the first slide. Like I said, I talk fast, and you can look at the slides later. This is General McConville's slide. I'm only going to hit one or two things on this slide, and this is about winning. The Corps has to be a winner. We don't sign up to build a building to come in second place. We don't sign up to build it late, and we don't sign up to build it over cost. We all need to be winners. You guys hit home runs 98% of the time. We got to continue to do a better job on the other 2%. I pushed real hard the teams that are fighting the Laura storm right now. It used to take us longer to get blue roofs on, longest to get generators on. And it's kind of hard the last 10 days just saying, get the blue roofs on faster. And I was real proud when Diana Holland and her division got those roofs on within about 4 days. Exactly the kind of standard that America expects from winners, and the Corps of Engineers is a winning organization. This next slide is very complicated, but for the military that are watching, I want you to know that we've made a lot of progress when it comes to the regiment. These are 90,000 soldiers, active duty, guard, and reserve that are out there. The biggest things I think we've done is 4 years ago, we were a bunch of people that knew how to do route clearance operations. We were not expert at our warcraft. We weren't very good at high-intensity operations, and we had been doing, contingency ops for 17 years. In the last 4 years, our regiment has turned around, so now we have lieutenant colonels and sergeant majors that can go up to an infantry colonel and advise him the best way to employ his engineers in a BCT. We've seen a lot of progress on the new assault bridge coming out, the JAB. The ABVs are rolling off the lines. We're going to get more of those coming back in. We got 52 of those coming from the Marines. We see now that we're going to be able to get engineers in Bradleys. These are engineers that are not in the brigade combat teams. And unfortunately, this is going to take longer than we want, but at least we're on a glide path to keep getting engineers out of 113s and put them in Bradleys. And then we see more and more support from the Army when it comes to robust capability on force structure. A couple extra brigades will go in the penetration division, a couple of battalions, 7 brand new bridge companies. And right now we're right in the middle of looking at, can we afford more engineers in the division or the Corps, and to be able to make sure we're apportioning those engineers in the right place. This next one is my philosophy. I always put this slide in whenever I give a pitch, and I would just say, Dave Hill said it best. You've got to be able to have a very strong foundation when you build anything. So I am so convinced that the foundation of the Corps is where everybody, 36,000 people have to work. Every day you have to treat people with dignity and respect. You have to include everybody. You got to think about diversity. You got to think about how are our actions perceived by other people that are different from ourselves. And how do we make sure we have systems and processes that are sharp, crisp, not bureaucratic, not lethargic, and we continue to have a delivery mechanism that is very, very streamlined. The second thing is deliver the program. It's got to be high quality without a doubt, at or ahead of schedule, at or below cost, and always thinking about the environment and thinking about safety. And the final thing goes back to the vision. I love the vision of the Corps of Engineers. And that vision is to engineer solutions for the nation's toughest challenges. When America has a problem, I want them to call the Corps of Engineers, and I want us to be ready to step up. We got to anticipate those needs, and if we don't get the call, there might be times we even get ahead of it because we know the calls eventually come. You are that good. We don't need to wait for the phone to ring. Let's get ahead of it and get out in front of it. This is our current mission set. I call this the 11 pack. These are the 11 different missions. I'm going to quickly run through some of the accomplishments, but this is a $68 billion portfolio. I think right now when the guys ran the numbers, if you put us side by side with a civilian firm, regardless of construction or not, we're about number 85 on the Fortune 500. That's how big of an enterprise we're running here, and we've got to be able to do that where we're very, very aggressive on delivery. But every single day, we've got to have a command climate where you want to come to work because you like being here. You like working with the people that you work with. You like, the enjoyable job. And it's a very, very hard balance to be aggressive with delivery while at the same time building a command climate that everybody espouses to be able to have. So where were we a couple of years ago? There was a proposal several years ago that actually recommended that we take the Civil Works function and we chop a portion of it back into Department of Transportation and Department of the Interior. We were not necessarily big fans of that approval, but it goes back to sometimes that we don't have to market our success. If we continue to let people know what we can do, let them be aware of how the current system is, and then give them choices. And here, the administration made a choice to continue to leave the status quo. And we're very, very proud of that fact that we did it without having to go to pull political strings or anything else. Is because if you're able to let people know what the Corps is capable especially with full and efficient funding, less bureaucracy, and perhaps a little bit more support, then we can do phenomenal things for the world. And this is why this OMB proposal is currently is gone. What that did, go to the next one real quick. What it did cause us to do, though, is to question, are we in fact as aggressive as we could be? And sometimes after 245 years, large organizations could get to be bureaucratic. We bolt on more processes, we get more red tape. Some of this is by external players who have bolted on more controls onto us. And so it did get hard to be able to work through all this bureaucracy. We took a very, very deliberate approach to revolutionize the Corps. Reform is one of Secretary Esper's top priorities in DOD. It's one of Secretary McCarthy's top priorities in Department of Army. We took a little different twist, a little more positive twist to say, we're already a very, very good organization, but we can't rest on our laurels. And every single day throughout the entire depth of 36,000 people, we need everyone to put everything on the table and say, is there a better way of doing this? Is there any smarter way? Do we need 30 steps or can we do it in 7? And we've gone out of our way to look at things that are internal to our lane, which we call below the line, and we've changed a great many of those. And things that were above our line, things that we couldn't control, Congress, the White House, the administration, Department of Defense, things that they had put constraints on us. And then over the last about 18 months, we have written laws to change. We've gotten support from a lot of external people, and we have changed our processes both internally and external. Go to the next one, Dan. And I really wanted to be able to use this slide. As you remember, when we came in about 2016, we basically came in with about a $26 billion portfolio. Today, our portfolio is $68 billion. I don't say that to impress you. I say that to let you know that if you're good, people will come to you because they want best value. Think about when you wake up every Saturday morning and go shopping. You decide what store to go. You're going to go to the store that gives you the best value. And if the Corps continues to come through on our promises and be able to be on time and on budget, then I think we'll continue to see our portfolio get bigger and bigger. The most important part of this slide, though, is the part in the middle, is that we've got to emerge from this massive program growth, the yellow box, big baseline program, supplemental, the VA, border. All of those programs have forced us to be more efficient. We couldn't deliver $68 billion with the old processes. So we have come out with a new culture. It's going to leave it up to General Spellman as to where he goes from here. But the bottom line is we've got to continue to be ruthless when it comes to execution. And I say that word very carefully. Ruthless means still treating people with dignity and respect, following the law, following the FAR, continue to have a very, very positive command climate, have a positive Fed score, but don't take no for the first answer. Figure out how we can somehow continue to fight through challenges. Karen Payne and the HR team are one of my real heroes on this. When I think about one or two examples of how to revolutionize things, direct hire was a game changer. When we came in, we maybe had 5 to 6%. Right now, we're at 93% of our different jobs that we can direct hire. Us alone, 4 years ago, 133 days to hire an employee. Today, we're down at 54, and we're getting better every single day. It's just an example of you can't just continue to take the old process and say, we can be a better Corps of Engineers with old process. We got to revolutionize how we do things. And go to the next one. Part of this is all about partnering with our stakeholders. We don't call them customers. We call them stakeholders. And hopefully some of you are watching this today. We came off the bubble a little bit on partnering about 10, 15 years ago. When we went into BRAC, we could have done it better. And by talking with AGC, SAME, ASCE, a lot of the different contractor groups, we've been invited out there. We do one-on-ones. We do roundtables with 50 people and 50 CEOs in a room. And we have said, we've got to do better. It's incumbent on our area resident engineers, our district engineers, our division commanders to go out and meet our stakeholders and make sure that you're listening to them. 2 days ago, I called 2 contractors up working Blue Roof. And I said, if there's an issue, you call me personally, because that's what a partner's all about. We're going to stand by our contractors. We're going to hold them accountable, but we're going to continue to be as aggressive as we can in making things happen. Okay, go to the next one. There's way too many bullets on here, but if you got nothing to do later tonight, I just wrote down what I thought were the top 17. I'm going to hit some of these in slides, but the bottom line is when you think about the accomplishments you have done over my tenure as the Chief of Engineers, it's amazing. And I'm going to hit some of these big ones because these are some real muscle moves. All right, let's start out with Mill Mission. So, Jeff, this is in your lane. Bottom line, about a $32 billion program. You'll see on the slide here all the different accounts, some major, major accomplishments. Go to the next slide. The VA is a great example of one of those where we really got the phone call. We love working for the VA. The VA are some of the most passionate, honest, hardworking people in the world. But we found we had a delivery model that they could adopt. And we came in, there's 15 hospitals that are over $100 million each. Total programs over $7 billion. We right now are in building hospitals, either brand new or revising clinics. And I'm just talking the big ones over 100 million. There's many, many more that are much less than that. But Jeff, this goes back to all of those soldiers that we have fought so hard to be able to take care of. All of those people that have taken to combat, they are now a lot of them are veterans. I think the DOD and the VA continues to have the same passion to take care of those veterans. That means quality health care. And if Congress approves money, which they do quite often for the VA, then we need somebody to deliver that program in the right manner. Just a good example of our interagency program and the massive growth in the interagency. Next one is the Mosul Dam. This is another example of where the State Department basically called the President of the United States and said, the President of Iraq said he needs help. He's got an $11 billion water dam with a gallon behind the dam, and that thing's at danger of failing, and people are going to lose their water supply, and they're going to lose their irrigation. We need somebody to do it. There was nobody else in the world that was willing to go into Iraq and to be able to solve this problem. The Transatlantic Division did a phenomenal job. And ironically, there was a time Iraq was a little bit safer, but right at this time is when ISIS is in Mosul, 10 miles away from the Mosul Dam. And we went in with 300 people and bore in 12,000 different holes down in the ground, 300 feet, to be able to stabilize the dam. That's engineering at its best. That's engineering solutions for not just the nation's toughest challenges, but the world's toughest challenges. Phenomenal job by the State Department and our dam safety guys and the whole crew. And Jeff, there's several other ones. Stratcom's headquarters, several hospitals, Bliss Hospital, Riley Hospital. I can go on and on and on. And we're going to continue to keep build big buildings. We've got a new hospital coming up in Germany. We've got a new a national or NGA going in St. Louis. The requirements for us to go back in and support DOD and the Army throughout the entire depth of the portfolio is massive. Civil Works, probably about a $22 billion program altogether. Here's some of the different product lines that we do. You're very aware of that. Let's go to the next one, Dan. Our infrastructure, if you don't know, we have $250 billion in the ground, concrete and steel in the ground. 50% of it is over 50 years old. America can't afford to replace it all at once. So to the great ops community in Civil Works, every day we give you all the money we can fight for. Congress gives you a lot more money. I'll talk about that. But the bottom line is you do a phenomenal job of going out there and keeping these systems up and running so America's navigation can work. We can support the economy. Our rec areas are the most populated or the most visited in anywhere else in the federal government. We continue to take care of a big hydro program, environmental stewardship, flood risk navigation, you name it, the Corps of Engineers does it. And we're able to do it with 50 or 60 cents on the dollar because that's how innovative you guys are keeping this stuff up and running. Go to the next one. Olmsted's a great example. We have 715 locks and dams. Can't afford to fix them all, but this is a $2.7 billion lock and dam that we put in the ground. Very innovative technique, and innovation is something we got to do better. David Pittman and Erdic and the whole crew down in the Erdic labs continue to be able to do not only an innovation summit, but now an innovation strategy to be able to figure out, do we always need to do the way we did it back in 1952? Or is there a better way of thinking out of the box? Watch what industry does. Take a little bit about well-informed risk. One of the other big things we've accomplished in Civil Works is being able to say, make risk-informed decisions. We don't always have to have the 100% solutions when it comes to engineering. I expect you to be 100% when it comes to ethics, when it comes to taking care of people, when it comes to following the law. But if there's a way that we can find a better way of building something that's different than we did several years ago, let's attack it just like we did in Olmsted. Phenomenal job. We got a lot more momentum coming. Chiefs reports, for those that might not know out of the Civil Works community, we have a massive planning community of practice, and they're great. And our planners at the district, the division level, you planners are doing a phenomenal job. It takes sometimes 3 years, about $3 million, to be able to do a study. When those studies are done, they come down to General Spellman's team, now General Graham's team, they send it to me, and I actually sign it, and I do a Chiefs report. That then goes to get authorized. I'll talk about authorizations in a minute. And then it hopefully will get money to be built. In the last 4 years, I have signed 57 different Chiefs reports. If we were able to build those, that's $26 billion of new construction we want to put in the ground to be able to protect people. Think about people that are on the sides of these rivers that have been flooding for 30 or 40 years out there. They need stronger levees. They need other work done. And that's what our team does, is propose the projects. We don't get the money until the appropriation comes, but a massive amount of work that's been done by our Civil Works planners. Go to the next one. This is you. This is what our Civil Works team looks like. Every time I sign a chief's book, I call this the Brady Bunch photo. Every time we do one, it's every one of you now working in a COVID environment who is continuing to be collaborative, that comes on board to be able to give your thoughts and your opinions, how to be able to make the best value project we have. This is the Port of Nome, but just a phenomenal deal on how we're doing this. Go to the next one. This is WRDA. Every 2 years, Congress is trying to pass an authorization bill that allows us to have new projects. There were some times we might have had 5 or 6 or 7 years without a bill. We were very, very aggressive in 14, getting one in. 16, we pushed hard to get it. We got it in 18, and right now we are on track to continue to support Congress if they approve WRDA 2020. Here's what's different, though. As opposed to us sending something over to the Hill and then waiting a couple months for it to come back, our team has been so much more interactive. We are now talking to committees. We're talking to staffers. We're introducing different ways of doing things. This goes back to this above the line and below the line. Don't tie our hands. Give us some flexibility here, whether it's WIFIA, other type of new techniques. But we're very, very proud to support the WRDA and to be able to get the guidance out on the ground as fast as possible. Delegations comes with the whole idea of revolutionize, okay? We can't do everything on the third floor. We're shorter in numbers than we were 4 or 5 years ago. This organization runs well with some degree of centralized control, but a massive amount of decentralized execution. And all of us have to challenge every single thing. When you have to send something to your boss to say, please approve this, we really got to double check. Does it really need to go there? And under the Civil Works leadership in the last several years, there's about 41 altogether, but this one talks about water supply. 33 different things we couldn't do. We had to send it to somebody outside of Corps headquarters. We fought to be able to get those delegations back. 26 are back with us now. 7 are working. We hope to have those done in the next couple of weeks. But this goes back to empower our colonels, empower our DPMs, empower our SCSs that are out there with the MSCs. You're phenomenal. You've got all the credentials. You know what you need to do. We just got to give you the chance to make those decisions and save all that time of coming to Corps headquarters. And then last thing I wanted to be able to make sure that you all remember we're the Army Corps of Engineers, okay? That means that we've got to look and sound like the Army and continue to help the Army out. One of the things I asked about 3 years ago, how come every time I go to a Civil Works lake, I don't see anything about the Army, okay? So I went through and I said, let's put on the stars, okay, the Army star. And I want to applaud the ops community for doing that. These are decals that bolt right on, relatively cheap cost. But you need to remember that wherever they're there, whether you're park rangers out on a lake or whether you're an area engineer giving tours to an ROTC group coming through from one of the local colleges, what are you doing to help Big Army? Jeff Milhorn, a couple months ago, he was in New York City. We were trying to hire a whole mess of bringing a bunch of brand new recruits. Jeff had the New York district out there with one of the boats. He said, bring all the recruits down. We'll put them on the front of the boat. We'll raise our hand. We'll swear them in down here, and we'll let them join the Army. We probably need to find more opportunities of where Big Army understands how to leverage us to be able to make sure that America knows what the Army's doing. This is not just about USACE. We're part of the Army. The Army ought to feel free to take some credit for some of the things we're doing, but it's all about continuing to support the Corps of Engineers. And the last thing I will tell you, and I don't have a slide that shows this, but our normal Civil Works budget is $5 billion. Normally, usually, most of the time, $5 billion from Congress. Over the last several years, we have seen that grow to $7 billion. Here's why, and that's a massive increase, but it's because we have instilled confidence and credibility back into Congress and back into our elected leaders to say, give us the money, give us the challenge, and the Corps will step up and make it happen. And it goes back to that whole idea of value. If we're doing the right job, we will continue to be able to get the funds we needed to be able to take care of these important requirements. Okay, let's go to the wall a little bit. When I talked about the vision, I talked about the most complex engineering solutions. Of all the things that I'm proud of in the last couple of years, probably one of them is the approach that we have taken on the southwest border wall. And I don't have an opinion on immigration. I don't have an opinion on the wall. The bottom line is when we get a mission from our elected officials or from the Secretary of Defense, it is our job to salute, accept that mission, and to do that mission right. we got the mission to build about $15 billion. Total amount of miles is 733 miles. And even to make it more challenging, because of the threat the president declared in a national emergency, we were asked to build about 450 of those miles by December 2020. Now, here's the deal, and I'm not going to get deep into the details here. There was a lot of litigation that came in. We got slowed down a little bit when some of the courts, we actually went to the Supreme Court and worked through some of those. Our teams are now building every single day. We're averaging about 2 miles a day, 10 miles a week. And it's because everybody in the Corps, all 43 districts, are sending their best and the brightest into the Southwest Border Barrier District and the Southwest Division to be able to continue to support this construction out there. And it goes back to what we see as a national threat, and our job is to be able to take care of what we've been asked to do. So let's go to a couple pictures here. I'm going to show you real quick. Next one. So this is the president. If you don't know, we normally are briefing him or his staff about every 30 days. This particular one is when we signed a plaque that marked 300 miles down in Yuma just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ahead of schedule we marked. And the next milestone we're looking at is the 400 mile here coming up in several weeks from now. But a big, big deal with a lot of visibility and an awful lot of momentum to keep it going. Next slide, Dan. So there was a time we had to get the rest of our team on board to put some concertina wire. Here, the Corps working side by side with our troop units to be able to put concertina wire on the backside of some of the walls. Go to the next one. You always hear questions about, is this a new wall? Is this an old wall? All of this is brand new wall. So you look at, here's the old picture. There might have been something there in the footprint, but it's 12 foot high. You could cut through it with a blowtorch in a couple of minutes. And so all of this new wall is either 18 feet now, the majority of it is 30 feet high, and it's a wall system. I'll show you a picture in a minute. Okay, that's Yuma right there. Let's go to El Paso. Here's the next picture. You'll see old and new. You see the old one, you could have, you can run right over those crosses right there in, half a minute and get right through. Okay, go to the next one. I talked about a system. You'll see here a couple different fences. You'll see the main wall going up over the mountain. There's another secondary wall off the right. You can see the yellow call-out box there. But this is a system of primary, secondary, roads, lights, sensors, guard shacks, you name it. It's the entire system that we've been asked to be able to put out there. And there are areas that are what I call football field acres, relatively flat. But I just want to show you some of these next pictures here. It is amazing on some of the topography that we've been asked to build on. This one here is where we just finished that primary going right up over that ridge. Okay, go to the next one. This is El Centro. This is what it looks like when it's flat. Relatively straightforward, and to be able to knock it out, we bring in the panels. They're 8 feet wide, 36 feet high. They go 6 feet in the ground. Okay, then here's another one. There are some areas of the wall that, because we actually are close to a river, we actually have to build a levee wall. The levee wall is 12 feet high. The base is about 12 feet. It's an inverted T. And then here, this is down in Rio Grande. This concrete wall can protect a 100-year flood if the river overflows, and then we put the steel on top of it, 18 feet of steel, so we get a 30-foot elevation, but the concrete we need to be able to meet the flood risk management requirements. Okay, go to the next one. Here's Progresso. Again, same thing. Every one of those guys is putting in rebar, cranking down in the sun. Some of these are 100-degree days. Our team has been exceptionally disciplined when it comes to COVID compliance. Right now, one of the best contractor performances is actually on the southwest border. We're testing our guys quite frequently, several different methods, maybe not the official method, but we're doing temperature checks. We're doing other ways of screening on them. If we do have anybody that even comes close to showing the indications, we will test them. But we continue to stay on pace to be able to get our milestones where we need to be, because not only the contractors, but you and the Corps of Engineers are going out of the way. You heard me say this about 5 months ago. When it comes to COVID, the most important task is protect the force, protect the team. Then we deliver the program. And that's exactly what's happened on the southwest border. Okay, go to the next one. So if you're not an engineer, you might not be impressed, but this is about a 45-degree slope, 45 degrees, you know what that looks like. And when you put all the panels in, when you put the crane up to lift in the piece of steel, you can't necessarily put an 8-foot wide one because there's concrete in the steel. So here we actually have to go with 2 foot or 4 foot to be able to lever it back in. Look at the crane. There's no road there. You have to build the road in to get the crane in there, and then you got to build a concrete truck in there to be able to put concrete in once you get the rest of it in. This is hard work. I'll show you the very, very last slide, which is the great things the Corps built. But at some point, this will go down in the annals of history as one of the largest infrastructure projects that the Corps has ever built. And perhaps from a financial perspective, maybe one of the largest single programs in the United States. Go to the next one. This is Diego. I'm standing on top of this hill. If you look straight down the wall, that wall goes for 5 miles straight back. You'll see to the left, there's kind of an S there on the left side. That's the older wall, okay? We came back and replaced that. But the bottom line is the new wall is right straight. Right down where you see behind my right hand there, it is a 78% slope. Try pouring concrete on a 78% slope. That's hard work. That's complex solutions. That's tough. Go to the next one. This is my favorite photo. I was here the other day. This is down by San Diego. This is so tough. We couldn't have the excavator hang on the side. I told you safety is of utmost importance. Here, that excavator is digging the foundation. He's bringing the panels back in. And right here, we actually have cable holding that excavator, remote controlled cable, so the operator can back himself back down to put the next panel in. This is, go to the next one. This is newer technology. We had some ways of doing it. We continue to challenge all of our contractors. Is there a better way? Figure out how you can do it to continue to save money, save costs, and just another solution that another vendor has brought into the team here. And go to the last one. And this is my last wall slide, but I want you to know that this is not build wall at all costs. This is do what's smart. This is follow the law. This is follow all the safety requirements. This is being COVID compliant, even environmentally safe. We're very concerned about Native Americans, their burial rights, their land rights. We're very concerned about private owners and to be able to make sure that they have the protections that the Constitution affords them when it comes to real estate. Here, we're actually moving a cactus that was in the way of where the wall is going to go. We bring it up. We ask the specialty cactus person from Customs and Border, where does it go? We mark the ground. We go put it back over there. And at the end of the day, it's to be environmentally protective of not only the cactuses, the wildlife, and the water sources. It's a big deal as well. I want to thank some very special people here. Obviously, the engineers, the area and resident engineers, the Southwest Division and the South Pacific Division have done an outstanding job. Our E&C community, our real estate guys have gone out of our way. A lot of this is on private real estate. And if there was a hero of the wall, probably the hero of the wall is our lawyers, okay? Dave Cooper and our lawyers have done things out there that are 100% legal, but at some point you wonder, how are we ever going to get through this so we don't get slowed down when it comes to construction? So just a phenomenal job. And this is in contracting as well. There were some of these monies that we got that we had to put on contract in an exceptionally short amount of time, and I'm just so impressed with what we've done. So let's go to the next one. This is COVID, okay? And I talked about engineering solutions for the nation's toughest challenges, and I talked about don't wait for the phone to ring. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but when Governor Cuomo came on board 3 days in a row and to ask the president, I need help in New York. I need the Corps of Engineers because they're the only ones capable of large-scale production to be able to help me with the hospitals. That turned into an alternative care facility plan. We assessed 1,100 different, go to the next one, Dan, 1,100 different alternative care facilities. The graphics here, we basically took like a hotel room and tried to somehow convert a hotel room. That's the one on the right. And on the left, we took a large a large stadium, and we had a very, very simple design. COVID, non-COVID, small room, large room. We then took that design and we basically gave that out to the districts and said, here's the intent, mission command, here's what we want you to do. Go see every single governor and every single mayor and make sure that they understand the potential of us solving a bed shortage problem. We didn't do supplies, we don't do doctors, but we do sites, we build hospitals. We assessed 1,100 different facilities. We built 38 ourselves. We gave our designs, 36 of those, back over to states, and they built them out themselves. Go to the next one. Infographic, Curry Graham and our PA team have done a great job both in disaster response and COVID, continuing to be able to have a way to communicate so the average person can say, wow, 15,000 beds, that's a lot. We made it so that there's never going to be a day where an ambulance will pull up behind the back of a hospital and somebody will say, we don't have any room here, go down to the next hospital down the room. So I'm going to show you pretty pictures here. You're all smart so you can watch. Javits Center, 2,100 beds. I just picked about the top 7 here. Massive support from Governor Cuomo and the President of the United States on how the New York District went in and built that one out. Miami Convention Center, Jacksonville stepped up, 450 beds here. Here's the example of the ethic that the Corps has and it's got to continue to have. We flew in. They said 450 beds. I asked our team, how long is it going to take to do it? They said about 8 days. The governor looked at his medical guy and said, when do we need it? And the guy said, we need it in 5 days. And I looked back at our guys at Jacksonville. I said, you're going to get it done in 4 days. Figure it out. And so our guys built it in 4 days. We went 24 hours, and we made some very unique calls on how to do that. But that's the ability to say, it's not going to be when we get it done. Tell me when the requirement is. And we are so innovative, we will help find a way to be able to get there. Okay, go to the next one. McCormick Place, 3,000 beds. Every time we built one, we got better and better and better. We called in every night. The ENC community collected all the lessons learned. We'd say, hey, we found a new way to do oxygen. Hey, we found a better way to do nurse call stations. So, and then Huntsville put all those together. We now have a playbook that if COVID ever asked us to build more of them, we're not starting from scratch. We're going to take off from where we're at. Convention Center in Denver is the next one. 1,200 beds there. Go to Detroit. Over about 1,000 beds. Again, every one of these, just real innovative ways of doing it. And the last one's the Washington Convention Center right here in D.C., 400 beds. That's a good example where we said, we'll design it all, but we're only going to build a third of it out. If you want the other third built, we'll be ready to go. We can get it done in no time. It's all designed. But you might not want the whole convention center converted. Maybe it's only the 400 beds. I'm not going to talk a lot of detail, but I do want you to know that this warp speed initiative we're also being asked to do. There are parts of this that are classified and sensitive, so I'm not going to go into detail. But because we have a lot of big contractors that America is asking to build vaccines, we have been asked by the task force to come in and do certain construction type related activities to be able to make sure that warp speed stays on track. All right, and the last thing I'm real proud of, and I tell you what, this is where you talk about hitting home runs every day. The Corps of Engineers, where we really, really shine is in disasters, okay? And, I mean, I'd like to say that, you know, building a barracks at Fort Bragg is a real, you know, must happen, and we're going to do a great job, or, you know, doing a levee on the backside of a, you know, a state somewhere. But when America has a disaster and we're called on, boy, the Corps really steps up. This is just a chart that shows 4 years, and 17 and 18 are the worst one. Look at the numbers here in yellow, okay? 7 billion in 17, 6 billion in 18, a little bit of a break in 19, and right now we're right in the middle of Laura and doing a lot of other things. Whether it's a lot of hurricanes, Harvey, Irma, Maria, Michael, Florence, okay, Dorian last year. And then we had wildfires in California, you have mudslides in California, and obviously COVID, but we're FEMA's engineer. And when FEMA needs help, boy, we're there. And a lot of times we're the guys writing the mission assignments to be able to go to FEMA and say, hey, we think this might be a good opportunity to get ahead of the storm. Go ahead and send us in. This is, go to the next one. I call this the Wheel of Misfortune. This is all the different events just in 17 alone, okay? You see there over almost $5 billion, 5,700 people, and just storm after storm after storm, and the core team did not slow down. We continue to step up and to be able to deliver. Go to the next one. A lot of flooding on the Mississippi River. Last year was the wettest year in the last 124 years. The Mississippi Valley Division team has done a great job along with NWD and even SWD and LRD when it comes to the Missouri flooding and Mississippi flooding. Phenomenal job of our teams by flood fighting and now going out and refix those levees, but a big, big deal to stay ahead of Mother Nature. Go to the grid transmission. This is just a good example. John Lloyd's in the room, but when we sent everybody down to Puerto Rico, it was amazed at how devastated the grid was down there. And the governor wanted it fixed in 45 days. I knew there was no way we were going to do that. We said about 8 months. We hit our mark right on. We were a couple of days ahead of the 8-month mark. This is just an example of these guys on the top of this count. They're stringing wire through the top of 250-foot towers for 3 miles. And they're doing it with helicopters, okay? And we put in 66,000 power poles. These are actually big towers, 66,000 wooden poles put in Puerto Rico. That's engineering solutions for the nation's toughest challenges. Go to the next one. Right now, we're in the middle of rebuilding Tyndall Air Force Base. The other thing we did in the last couple of years, which was very innovative, is now that when we have engineer battalions on a standby list in Department of Defense, we're able to chop those with G3 permission over to a district. So we had a Bragg battalion working for Savannah. We had another one working for Mobile. Great innovation when it comes to disaster response. All right, we're winding down to the end. I tell you what, while projects are great and it's always good to have concrete and steel, the most important part of the Corps is our people. And this is Karen's slide. This is what I call the talent management slide that lays out the different parts of what we need to do to take care of our people. There's a lot of different bullets on here, But every single day, we got to figure out, how do we acquire the best talent? I want the top students coming out of Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech coming to the Corps of Engineers. I don't want them to go working for private industry. I want them to come to us. And maybe we can't pay them as much as private industry. I want them to come to work for us because it's a fun place to be, and they're going to be proud to be able to build America. Then you got to develop those people once they come in. All of you have to be developed. What schools are you going to? What are we doing to help take care of you? What are we doing to employ you better? Are we moving you around, giving you different job opportunities? And then how do we retain you? A lot of different dimensions of how we revolutionize talent management. Go to the next one. One of the most important things is command climate. We assess the best way to understand what your concerns and your opportunities are is through the Federal Employment Viewpoint Survey. So you'll see here, this is one we had a while back. I think we're number 3 on this chart when it came to response rates. We want the Corps of Engineers to not only be very, very high on FEVs, but we want it to be a best place to work. Go to the next one, John. We just had an opportunity a couple of months ago, Karen and Lloyd and a couple of the Sergeant Major went over to get recognized by the federal government as one of the best places to work in the federal government. And we can't do it by just reading a survey. You got to be interactive with us. You got to tell us, why don't we do more on IT? Why don't we fix this? Why don't we fix that? That's what we're trying to do here when it comes to our HR team. Go to the next one. Got to pat people on the back. We're always more than willing to say, hey, how can we do something better? But just think about all the things that our people do every single day. This is just almost 600 honorary awards, 1,700 humanitarian, just teams of great people throughout the Corps of Engineers that are in it not for the money. They're not in it to get an award. They're not in it for the accolades. They're in it to be able to help America be better. This is my next one's my bucket list. I had 54 things about 6 months ago I said I'm going to do, okay? Well, I didn't get them all done. I'm going to give Scott 3 of them because either they're not worthy, I wasn't good enough, or maybe he doesn't want them. I don't know. But anyway, there's a couple I'm going to give to him. There's a couple that are yellow on here. DeVarious Peoples is doing a phenomenal job on IT. We're going to bring our costs down. We're going to fix the network. We're going to the cloud. We're not there yet. We still got a couple other things to do on Revolutionize. But at the end of the day, just know that I think we have a pretty good plan, and we got to continue to keep driving on. Okay, let's go to the last slide here, next to the last slide. How do I see the next couple of years, okay? So I just kind of laid out for General Spellman what are going to be some of the big things coming. And you can look here, wall delivery, NGA, Landstuhl, Poland. We have one called USAMRID. We got some more work to do. The VA program, the massive Civil Works supplemental, pipeline permits are getting to be a challenge to a degree. We got to watch some litigation. We got to deliver better for DPWs. DPWs have had their budgets cut in the past, so we got to figure out how can we stand up and help DPWs. And the last thing I'll probably say is that regardless of what happens with this election, there could be a run on the Department of Defense budget. We have incurred a lot of cost with COVID, and you now have the deficit is getting bigger and bigger. And if, in fact, we see that the DOD budget gets cut and they still want to continue to be able to modernize some of this equipment in DOD, which I support, which is 20 and 30 years old, that means that we could see some degradation in MILCON, perhaps some more in SRM, and even to the point when it comes to the pace that we want to modernize the regiment, we might have to take a knee and we might just have to be a little bit longer on that. So here's my challenge, and I've got just a minute left here, but I just want to say we need to be more aggressive in figuring out where we can help America. Let's not wait for the phone to ring. Let's not wait for somebody to come in and ask us to do a study. Get out there, and this is not trying to do, build our portfolio. This is about when Congress says there's an issue, how can we propose innovative solutions? And I say on the slide here, it's got to be a reasonable solution. It's great to design the perfect solution that costs way too much or will never get funded. But we are very, very good at putting people in a room, of integrating them, and to try to find the good enough solution we can get done on time and make it happen. So with that, I'm going to just say at the very, very end, thanks for all you have done. It's amazing the pace that you have kept on. It's amazing when I go around and see everybody in town halls and I talk to leaders all over the Corps, 36,000 people, 110 different countries, the passion, the drive you all have. And don't think that I'm, to the point where I think we're perfect. We still have a lot of things we got to do. And it's just that we can't think of them all on our own. And there's a lot of things on the list. You got to help us be able to figure out where do we prioritize our effort in the next several years under General Spellman's leadership and the rest of the crew. Give him what your concerns are, and just know that as Connie and I walk out the door, we could not have been prouder. I'm really talking about the last 12 years with USACE, But for all of those that I've ever served with, and we both have, it's about families, it's about taking care of our people, but it's about serving this country. And at the end of the day, that's what the Corps does. We step up to make America a better place. So with that, John, I'm going to pass back to you, and we'll take some questions.
Hey, thanks, Chief. Really appreciate that. Really insightful. And thanks, Chief, for the shout out for Puerto Rico from the entire team that was down there. So what we'd like to do now is go ahead and go into the question and answer period. We've carved out about 30 minutes or so to be able to do that, Chief. So for the team out there, we have all the USACE leadership pretty much here to answer questions for you. I know General Graham is biting at the bit to go ahead and answer some of those questions. So, hey, sir, so if you have a question, we have some questions that came in the inbox. If you have a question that you'd like to tee up for the chief or anybody in the room, go ahead and put that in the chat box, and then the team will bring it up and we'll get that answered. Sir, one of the questions that was a common theme I think we saw across the enterprise was maybe for you to elaborate a little bit as you're going out right now at what you see the opportunities for USACE to be and what you see some of the threats or challenges be. Maybe two of those, sir, if you can tee those up for the team, I think be helpful, or we can go out.
So I think I'll start on the threats first, and off the top of my head here. I think we do have to be very, very concerned about the budget. And, you know, I hate to say that, and down where the rubber meets the road, you guys get your projects, and I'm not sure you're real worried about it. But when it comes to us maintaining capacity, think about locks and dams. We had a power line go down on one of our locks last week, and we couldn't get the canal open. And I think we ended up having about 80 different ships that were all clogged up. They were like a great big gigantic traffic jam on a highway. And it's, you know, hundreds of or millions of dollars that those employers lost because they couldn't get their product to market. When you think about our old stuff and us not being able to fix it on time, I think that's going to be a challenge. We see in civil works, and I would propose that we'll continue to see great support for infrastructure. We've heard that for several different parties. The WRDA that got passed, I think it was something like 99 senators to 1. Okay. Nowhere in the last 4 years have we seen anything that was like 100% of the people. And then on the House of Representatives, it was like 100%. Okay. So everybody likes the Corps when it comes to infrastructure repair. I think that's what we just got to figure out. We need to be able to articulate to leaders what the risk is. Congress makes a decision on where the budgets go, but we got to make sure they know that if we don't get funded in a certain area, then something's going to happen. And as a result, there's going to be ramifications of that. And we've got to be able to have a mechanism to be able to voice those concerns. And I think that we'll see that happen. The other thing, John, and I'm not going to get emotional or political about it, but we have got to be very cautious here to stay in a apolitical lane. Okay. We are based on science and engineering. And there's always times where somebody will try to throw us into a fight one way or the other. And that's not our job, okay? We have the Secretary of the Army. We have the Secretary of Defense. If there's ever times where we need to be able to validate what we're doing or why we're doing it, we let them be able to carry that water. But don't get wrapped into why are we building this? Why aren't we building that? We do what Congress, what the president, and what the Secretary asks us to do. And I hate to say it, but in the last 3 or 4 months, I think our country's in a pretty tough place. We're seeing a lot of angst. We're just seeing a lot of friction out there. We're seeing this in protests on the street every night, and we got to stay away from all that. And I hope we aren't going to get wrapped into any of it, but it's just so easy for a large organization like ours to somewhere get wrapped into some of those things. So I think we just got to watch how that plays out and stay with projects, stay with concrete and steel, and stay with science, and we should be in a good place. Opportunities, a part of this I think I alluded to. I think there's massive opportunities when it comes to the interagency. What we have seen, and depends on what administration is in, whether it's the current one that goes another 4 years or a new administration, you're going to continue to have requirements for some of these buildings that are old. There's a lot of old buildings. They need new construction, whether it's federal prisons, whether it's health and human services, whether it's DOD buildings. And so we've got to be able to be that best value. It's kind of like having 3 options there, and one is X and one is Y, and one's a Corps of Engineers. We should be able to be good enough so somebody would say, I want the Corps, because I know they're going to stand behind us and I know they're going to do quality work. So the interagency is a big, big deal. I think the other one, and we haven't even really turned the corner, and Karen, I think this is people. Our people are amazing. The question is, are we doing as much as we should to really develop probably the mid-grade? The military have their own track, and most of that works pretty well. But I mean, if you're a hard charging GS-12 out there, 13, we have a great leader development program. But are there other things we can do when it comes to other schooling, other capabilities? And then even back to Dave Pittman and ERDIC and innovation, what's industry doing? What are other ways that innovative ways are coming back in so we can find out ways of being more wireless, being more IT friendly, figuring out how to do things less, a little bit easier, and to continue to be able to be more effective when it comes down to it. And effectiveness normally brings efficiency as well. So with that, John, I'll stop right there.
Sure. Thanks, sir. So, sir, some questions out from the field. So this comes from Michelle from the Mobile district, and a common question across the force coming in, COVID and telework. And I know Ms. Payne's here as well. So the question is, what are our options once we're able to go back into the district or wherever someone works, or at least work from home part-time, half-time, or most of the time? And then other questions have come in kind of looking at telework and the way forward on that, sir.
So Karen, I am going to ask you to come up in a minute, okay? And so you can obviously, modify my answer or just say that I'm hosed up if that's the answer. Hey, we don't know is the short answer, okay? We want to be 100% flexible. What's most important is we want to protect the force, okay? We have 36,000 employees. I hate to say it, but we've lost 2 to COVID, okay? That's not because they came to work. It's because of other reasons. But the bottom line is COVID is going to continue to get a vote. We're seeing some states are coming down. We're seeing other places going up. Maybe it's because of, Memorial Day or Labor Day. I mean, that's one of the things you're hearing in the last couple of days. Some people say it's because of the protests. Some people just say everybody wants to get out and do different things. What we have to do is continue to find out how do we make the Corps of Engineers continue to work and give you flexibility. I don't think, and maybe General Spellman will change it, but I don't think we're going to pass some massive, great big op order on here's exactly how you got to do it. The Corps does best when local district commanders make their own decisions. So there could be a scenario where you might have a job where you can work 5 days from home, okay? Now, maybe every once a month you want to come in to see your coworkers so you get to know what's going on and do a, hail and farewell for the new team or something. But if you're in a job where you're basically working paperwork, the council, contracting, the planners, a lot of our engineers, designers, those kind of jobs, what we have found is that I don't think we've missed a beat with COVID coming in, and we've been able to maintain all of our office workers. Now, unfortunately, we do need to maintain our equipment out on the ground. So it's kind of like the police and the firemen. You don't get to telework as a fireman. You don't get the police to telework as a cop. So if you're running lock and dam number 33, then we need you out on the lock and dam. We got to figure out, what does that mean? Do we fight to get you vaccines if you're out on the ground? How do we get the right testing? How do we protect you? How do we make sure? I mean, masks are great, all the other things we're trying to do, but there's probably other things we could do to be able to protect you. What I understand is a lot of the people that are having challenges are those with pre-existing conditions. If you have pre-existing conditions, can we take you, and you have to work on the ground, can we take you out of that environment and put you something else? So maybe moving from one job series to another, maybe figuring out how to get back into a telework environment. But I think you will find that we have changed how the Corps is going to work for years and years to come. And the other part of this, I'm going to tell this to leaders out there, I think like the San Francisco office has got like 1,100 people. There's a great big office building downtown in San Francisco, and it costs us an awful lot of money to have 1,100 desks. Do we need 1,100 desks? First of all, maybe San Francisco, maybe we got to figure out a cheaper place to go on the outskirts so we aren't in the most expensive building downtown. But maybe what we say is we only need 500 desks, and there's a thing called hoteling. You come in, you go to your wall locker, it says Semonite on it, you open the door, you take a picture of, it'd be Connie for me. Don't you guys have a picture of my wife? Y'all take your picture, your little basket, your pencil thing, your staple thing, and you're all set. You go over to your desk. Here's a picture of Connie. You sit there, you do your work. 5 o'clock at night, you put it all back in the wall locker, and next day you go to another desk on the other side of the place, or you work from home. But I think we got to be willing to do all that kind of stuff. So let's be iterative. Let's take it day by day. And I don't think we have given any guidance that says you have to be back to work by some given time. Okay. We want this to be slow, methodical. And what we really, really want to do is make sure we're all safe. So I think General Spellman's going to be able to get a better handle on this when we really understand, is there a vaccine? What does it mean? One of the things we have thought about where we have people in dangerous way. I'll take a good example. During a hurricane, we have people that go in for power generation, a blue roof. Let's assume we have 5 blue roof teams or 6 blue roof teams, and they're all about the same. we might want to vaccinate one of the Blue Roof teams and one of the power generation teams, and nobody has pre-existing conditions. And we say, when you fly in, you're going to be the protected guys because we got vaccines for you. For everybody else, it might be 3 to 4 to 5 months. We don't know how the vaccine flow is going to go, but we got to have some vaccines for some of our absolutely most critical hydro plants. Got to have somebody running the hydro plant. Okay, those people might have to be vaccinated. So we have to think through how that's going to work. Okay.
Great. Thanks, sir. Hey, sir, the next question from David from the Los Angeles district. He's wanting to know what do you forecast in mill programs for work in Europe? And is there going to be opportunities for employees to work overseas, whether it's Europe or another location, sir?
So, David, it goes back to, I think, we have to see what happens with the federal budget. Is there going to be a CR? When's the budget going to come? And what's going to happen mainly with the MilCon account overseas? Now, there's a couple of dynamics here, and I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm giving you fact, okay? In the last couple of years, we had several projects in Europe to be able to work certain actions in certain countries against potential threats. We have seen those projects get canceled. What a lot of times happen is Congress wants to keep American money in America, okay? And so as a result, we have not seen the investment in some of those foreign countries that could have been out there to be able to do theater security cooperation, or what we kind of call set the theater. So I think you're going to see less overseas. We've already seen at least some elected leaders say they want to reduce the footprint in Germany. Some have said reduce the footprint in South Korea. Right now in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's still up in the air, but we think that Iraq will be getting smaller. And I have heard in the news that some elected leaders have said, let's continue to reduce Afghanistan. I think what you've got to do that is, if you want to go expeditionary, and I would just put a big pitch in, we get a lot out of people that want to go to other places. If you're going to stay in district number 32 your entire career and you're going to be in the same exact office, you are very, very good at that job. But we need people that I can launch into different countries, different places. When we say go to Puerto Rico and we get 500 people building a grid, everybody comes out of the woodwork to be able to go because we need that crew. Same thing with the barrier district out in South Pacific Division. So I would say those are your opportunities. Europe's not going anywhere with that district. They're going to keep having to work. We got Japan, we got Korea, Hawaii is a great place to go. Alaska is a great place to go. But we continue to do projects throughout. A lot of the different COCOMs are just a little bit smaller, and they're not necessarily real big MilCon. Okay.
Hey,
Karen, come on up. I want you to, I didn't let you answer on the teleworker. Come on up and just do your opinion of what do you think might happen in the next, let's say, 6 months.
Oh, sure. Thank you, sir. You're right on with all your comments. One of the things that we're trying to look at is with every bad situation, I always try to look at silver linings. And one of the silver linings of COVID is that we have a kind of a new norm of how we've done. We've looked at technology, we've got people remote working and teleworking. And so we want to take all those good concepts of what we've done and put it together. What will be the new norm working group? We've actually have a national PDT working on that right now, made up of a lot of people from out in the field and headquarters area to try to really come up with those kind of solutions that we're going to be doing. The new workforce will have remote working. We'll have teleworking. I actually want to extend it to hours of operations. Does somebody have to work from 8 to 5? Can somebody work maybe in the morning time and then come back in the evening? If you're better at writing something and maybe you do an analysis, maybe at midnight is the best time to work for you. That's my time. I love working at midnight to about 2 a.m. And that's when I become real creative in my writing. I know, Darryl Graham. And so, so why not utilize that kind of work for people? And so the new workforce will look like that. Now, certainly we have to accomplish a mission, and there's some jobs that can't telework, but hopefully if we could get more people off the streets, and better able, that you can get to work easier. You don't have to, like in the district, you have to take like an hour to drive. If half of the workforce is now working from remote, the traffic is better. Maybe you can get lunch easier so you don't have to wait in line. So there's a lot of great things we can do, even for the folks that can't. But there is going to be a lot of information coming out real soon. Definitely, we're going to be doing things differently in the future.
Just back up a little bit. Sure. I'm going to ask you another question here. So, hey, we're getting, these are new ones coming in. PJ from Baltimore writes, is there a helpline or a resource for employees to direct questions regarding policies or procedures with COVID? In other words, a 1-800, I need help, or whatever it is. I don't know if we have that. I don't know if we have the capability instead of calling core headquarters, because the district probably has better understanding of COVID for your particular district. But can you just hit that? And while you're there, PJ also asked, have there been changes in transfer policy or new ways created to make reassignments easier due to COVID challenges? Let's assume somebody is in a job where they've got to be out on the street and now they want to work where they can work inside somehow. Is there anything that we can do to alleviate our processes? Go ahead, Karen.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I think I'm going to take the reassignment one, and I think I'll let Commander Janesco do the helpline. Certainly in HR, we will help out with any things that comes up with employees, and we'll be able to get information, EAP and other things. But I'm going to let Commander Janesco answer that one. With reassignments, absolutely. There's things, you have to work with your command, your managers. We're actually right now in the midst of developing an internal IT capability to actually take resumes, repository of people that want to kind of look at other kinds of activities within USACE. And so that would be able, those resumes would be able to go to the manager. Maybe let's say you want to move from LRD to NWD and be able to do that more internally. We definitely are looking at reassignments. We are very interested in people being able to do that. And if it's because of COVID or other activities, absolutely. If it's because you just want to have a new assignment, maybe you want to go to Europe or you want to do something else, absolutely. We want to keep you in the core. I always call from cradle to grave. We want you to be here. And, this is a wonderful place. I've been here 3 years and I'm so impressed every single day. Every single day I want to come into work. And the reason why is because all of you guys, what we do, if you think about it, it's just massive and it's just so extraordinary. And I don't see why anybody want to leave the core. So we want to keep you in and we have the best people and we want to keep the best people.
Okay, Tom. Thanks, Karen.
Welcome, sir.
Hey, I'm Commander Tom Janesco. I'm the command surgeon. First and foremost, if you have a COVID question, talk to your local safety and occupational health professional. If they can't answer the question or you just want to call me, last name Janesco, Janisko, contact me. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, we got about 7 minutes. We're going to take questions right up till about 3:25. So Marcus Rollins Martin from Fort Worth writes, will IIS, and again, that stands for International and Interagency Projects, will they be affected by possible DOD or stakeholder budget cuts? So let's clarify a little bit. When the budget comes out, if it's a DOD cut and that DOD money is going to COCOMs, okay? In other words, the combatant commanders for things like humanitarian projects, or we actually build airfields, we build a lot of capability, missile sites, all this. If the DOD budget gets cut and DOD decides to reduce a footprint in some of those areas, yes, that will definitely be affected by budget cuts. Now, on the other hand, if DOD takes a cut, but if other agencies actually don't get cut or get a surplus, we could see just the opposite. 4 years when this administration came in, they plussed up the DOD account and they brought down some of the budgets in some of the other interagency accounts. So what might happen is you might see that, that shift regardless of who's president. And if somebody decides that, hey, we want to help more with hospitals or we want to do more with public safety, then the Corps is certainly available. In DOD, a lot of times they have to use the Corps of Engineers, especially Army. Air Force and Navy and Marines use this because they like to use this, but the Army has to use this. The interagency doesn't. They can go all by themselves and do it on their own, but this is where we're seeing it. When you hire us, we come in and we give you a reassurance back to those stakeholders. We're going to stand by you, good or bad, all the way through this project to be able to make sure we get it done. So we just got to watch how that plays out. It's going to be different for every single area. It's going to be different for every single different account, and it's really going to depend on what is the administration's platform of where they want to, make change, and then what can the Corps do to support that in the best way possible. Okay, John?
Okay, that's great, sir. Sir, we've got a bunch of questions that came in on these two topics. So the first one is looking for what advice you would offer, career advice for USACE civil servants, for one. And then this next question is really $1 million question. And I know Connie's in the room, but everybody wants to know what you're going to do next, what retirement looks like for the chief.
All right, well, Tom Steffens was asking me that he wanted to try to get on camera today. Tom, I want you to come up. And I don't want you to talk just engineers, for civilians in general, okay? You're going to have to ask the question again because I don't think Tom was listening, okay? What advice do you have for our civil servants, okay? when it comes to perhaps, what did it say, career aspirations or development or
Career
generically?
development, Rogers.
But before you get to general talking about civilians, let's have one of our, Tom is the best RM in the entire DOD. Okay, we hire the best. Okay, all right. He's always so easy because, yeah, I'm Tom from accounting. It's like Karen, she's the best in DOD. All these guys, okay, Lloyd Caldwell, Al Lee, all these guys, heroes. That's all I got. We've got heroes all around. Tom, give some advice on to our civilian workforce, and don't forget, we go the whole gamut. So maybe talk more of the middle of the workforce versus real senior people. What would your advice be?
Yeah, thank you, sir. First, I'm amazed that 36,000 people want to hear from an accountant about career aspirations. But it really doesn't matter whether you're an accountant, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a project guy, HR. It's all about, and the one word that comes to mind for me in the core for everybody is professional, right? It's professionals. And so what do you do to enhance, what do you do to forward that profession? And it really doesn't matter whether you're a military or whether you're 06 or GS-15 or, you know, or really an 03 or GS-8. You do several things. You know, have a passion for what you're doing. And what I told somebody a long time ago, if you don't have a passion for what you're doing, find something that you would have a passion for and make, right? But if you have a passion for what you're doing, then how do you further your trade? Professional development comes in many forms. Could be education, institutional education. And I tell every one of my people who come in, professional development isn't just institutional education. It's what I call stepping up. What does that mean? If your boss is going to be out for 3 months because he's having surgery, you're going to step up and move into that job. That's stepping up. That's professional development, right? Ms. Payne has an IPT on telework. One of my people volunteered and say, hey, I want to be on that because that's cutting edge stuff, right? So there's a lot of ways to develop yourself, and you do two things. You learn, number one, and number two, you make a name for yourself too. You develop that reputation of being the premier HR director or the premier RM. And so those are that's some very short advice I would give, sir, for those professionals in the Corps want to advance yourself. Just be a team player. Step up.
Good job, Tom. Well done. So on the retirement question, the nice thing is we really haven't figured that out. Okay, it's kind of up in the air. Connie and I have been going around for 41 years, 4 months. She's been married to me for 38 years. We've moved 25 times, 4 kids, all married, 8 grandchildren. And she has been the hero because she's been all over the place doing all kind of great things, just not just for the family, but also, you know, I mean, we have dinner every other Tuesday night at the house for some group coming in. We've had, you know, division command for 6 years, that kind of stuff. So we're going to take some time, probably 2 or 3 months. One of the best things you can do when you're probably anticipating some big event in your life is get too busy to worry about it, okay? And so we've been cranking hard. The guys in the front office have been amazing. I mean, we've just been going all out. And I had like a lot of things to do this weekend. We're flipping houses, okay? We like flipping these houses. We got like 4 of them we've done now. So we bought a big house down in Stafford. It's 10 acres. Don't think like I'm rich because the bottom line is it was trashed, okay? It had like broken windows. It hadn't been used in a year and a half. No electricity, no water. Guy tore out the bathrooms. He tore out the kitchen. He tore out everything. And then he went belly up and it was in terrible shape. I like the house that when Connie walks in, she goes, no, this is too hard. We can't do this one. And then especially I say, let's sleep here Friday night. When we close, we'll sleep here the next day. And when you don't even get a bathroom running in about a week, you know that it's a pretty tough house. So we've had this house for 6 months. And this is the weekend. I'm like, I haven't even written my speech yet. We're trying to write, you know, all kinds of, buy gifts and do a bunch of other stuff. And Connie went out the other day and bought 22 kitchen cabinets, okay, and said, hey, we're going to put them in Saturday morning. I'm thinking I could probably have some other things how to do. But I've been hanging uppers and lowers all last Saturday and Sunday. I am an engineer. I love working on things, looking on old cars. So at some point, if somebody says, what's Seven Night doing, you know, flip an email out to us and let me know. But the bottom line is it goes back to somebody will ask me to do something one way or the other. And when the right phone comes, I'll know what it is. And I'd like to continue to serve. I'm not sure exactly in what capacity, but for the next 2 or 3 months, we're going to relax. And I'm going to give my wife a couple of my months of my own time so I can just kind of relax. So with that, I think we got 5 minutes left to go. I'm going to wrap it up. Is there anybody in the room that is has any closing comments, Sergeant Major, anything you want to say? No. Anybody else? General Spellman, I don't know if I asked you, but is there any remarks you want to make at all? Connie, you're good? Okay, so look, to the team. You got super leaders. They're very passionate about what they're doing. I would just tell you that never underestimate the power of the Corps of Engineers. We're a unbelievable organization. Most people don't know us. Some people even say, I don't want to join the Army Corps of Engineers because I don't want to be a private. No, we're 99% civilians, okay? So we got to be a champion of who we are. You got to be able to go tell good stories about the Corps. So when you're sitting there with somewhere at a Halloween party and somebody asks you, where do you work? Hey, I work for the Corps, and it's a pretty amazing organization. So help be a spokesman, get out and pass the word around. I really do want to continue to up our game, figure out how you can be better. And it doesn't need to be an op order coming from the 3rd floor of Washington, D.C. Sergeant Major is very supportive of the command sergeant major of the Army. And it's about, this is my squad, okay? And what the whole point of the initiative is, let's not try to get all 36,000 people better, okay? If you got 8 people in your office and there's a regulatory office, just worry about your 8 people. Is everybody safe? Is everybody taken care of? Does everybody feel value added? Do they all feel, like they're part of the team? And is everybody has an aspiration to get to their destiny? Everybody wants to do better. Nobody drives to work trying to say, I think I'm going to stay at a dead-end job for 40 years. And we have people, I gave a 45-year certificate out a couple of weeks ago to somebody that worked us for 45 years. How do you make sure that person is just as energetic and knows that anybody can move up? You can move 2 or 3 levels up without a doubt. Any civilian has the ability to be an SES. Military, you all have the ability to continue to get promoted. Maybe not in the exact same job series, but then we will say, hey, this one you might cap out at, but if you jump over here, we'll get you to a school, we'll figure out how to do it. But just know that the Corps is a great place, and that we will be around. We're going to retire in this area, right around Fort Belvoir somewhere, and we're going to disappear for a while because the last thing General Spellman needs is a Seminites walking around. But somewhere in a year or so, we'll come to some leaders emeritus, and we'll, say, remember in the old days we're there, whatever. I'm not sure what we'll say. But seriously, if you watch the thing Thursday, it's going to be 1 or 2 minutes on the Corps of Engineers because I don't want everybody in the audience thinking I'm just bragging about the Corps. It's going to talk about Big Army as well. But this is the day that I wanted to look you in the eye and tell you that I'm really proud of what you've done. And I have been in the room, and General Spellman was with me just a couple of weeks ago, when we're sitting in the President of the United States' office having a discussion about the Corps of Engineers, and just the admiration of several SecDefs, Sec Armies, and the highest leadership in this country just knows what you guys can deliver. And now we've set a reputation, and now we got to continue to maintain. So every day you got to be on your top game, you got to be on edge, and you got to continue to help us revolutionize the Corps of Engineers. With that, from Washington, D.C., Todd and Connie Semonite, finishing strong.